Hey guys, Jeff and Matt Kite,
And Ryan here.
and we're excited to bring you a question that we get asked often. Listener asks, I think I'm ready to downsize my board.
Or they go, hey, I think I'm looking at mid-size. I've got my first starter board. I'm looking at these new MIDI boards. I'm looking at downwind boards. What should I get?
Or even a smaller board. My buddies are riding smaller boards. I had my beginner board for a while at the 110, 115, 120, 130, 140. I'm ready for a smaller board. Help me out.
Yep.
First thing I say is timeout.
Yep. Pump the brakes.
Yep.
Not yet.
Hold up.
We need a little more info on this
Exactly.
one.
Exactly. So let's start off. What are some questions we'd like to ask then that follow that up?
So, first follow-up question, obviously, what size board are you on now? That makes a big difference. Like I said, we kind of introed this as your first board. So likely for most people, it's a larger board. You're typically looking at 115, 125, maybe even larger board in terms of liters. Good, stable board for people to learn on. Not very efficient necessarily, but it's got the stability there.
Get you learning the sport. I mean,
Yes.
It gets you up and riding, and it gets you, getting addicted to the feel of the foil.
And typically, when I hear this, most people are looking to downsize to that 80, 90 liter board, which I would say 90 liters, not out of the ballpark for a lot of people, provided that they're at the right point in their progression.
Yes, and that's when I lead in with this question. I ask, what kind of riding or where have you progressed in your winging?
Yes.
And the question is, can you jive, turn and not stay on foil? Are you riding both directions and not getting wet for 20 minutes?
Yes.
Based on that discussion, what we have found that normally it's not about the board is the first thing that you're going to downsize in your wing foil progression.
And that's usually the next question. What size foil are you on? Are you still on that 1800, 2000, or even larger foil that you started with? A lot of people calling in to ask this question. Still riding a 2000 square centimeter, low aspect, beginner foil.
Which
with
is
their
fine.
Big board,
The
which is
18 or
great.
2000, very stable, gets you up and riding. But when you're asking the question, I'm ready for a smaller board, the first thing that we're suggesting that you downsize is not your board,
Yes,
but the
foil.
right on.
Reason being, you still want that stable platform to progress on. You don't want to downsize your board into this tippy, more rocky platform, and you've got this large foil. Like it just, the ability to get up and moving is severely hindered. Where if you downsize your foil next,
Well, what we're finding too with this question is leading into is a lot of our customers, and some of you can understand this, that you're up and riding. You're riding both directions on your beginner setup. One direction you're doing well, you drop down, ride the other way, and you've tried some of your jives, and 8 to 9 times out of 10, I hear you say, I'm not getting all my jives. I feel like the foil is I'm slowly going back in the water. I've got a lot of drag. I'm just not getting my jives. Well, this is where it's not about the board. It's about the foil. So the foil size is the first thing we suggest you change. And we can help you with that size, but generally speaking, depending on how much you weigh, that next foil is going to be somewhere between 1,200 and 1,400 square centimeters, just as general parameters, with a little bit higher aspect ratio. So it gives it a little bit more speed. So the foil is the first thing that you're going to want to change and help in your progression to nail those jives and to be riding at longer periods of time in mixed conditions. And that's where you start to get the confidence. You start learning to ride the foil with the wing, maybe just holding on out to your side a little bit, maybe pulling into some waves a little bit. But it's really about the foil, not the board.
riding at higher speeds as well, because everyone knows when you're doing your jibe, you need to be able to come into it with some speed.
For
Can't
sure.
go and do a jibe slow. You're not going to have the speed you need to make it around.
And when you make the big shift to a foil, a smaller foil, both of us can remember, I can still remember, it's going to take a little bit of time, because when you go to a higher aspect, smaller foil, it's not going to be as stable initially. And your flight to get up on foil is going to create you need a little more energy, and it's going to take a little more time.
Yep.
So you don't want to change your board. That's the one variable that's going to be stable for you, that you're used to. So by adding that foil, that is just going to give you the most progression as you begin to learn to jive and to ride, begin to progress in the sport of winging.
Because when you drop down on that foil size, you're going to be falling more because you're not used to it. You need something that's going to make it easy to get up and ride again.
And I would highly suggest that a smaller board isn't going to help you progress as much as a foil. The foil is probably the number one thing that you're riding. It's going to unleash, you know, your progression in the sport. We like to call it a budding advanced beginner. Or, you know, as you're riding, you're riding both directions. The board is oftentimes what we hear a lot of our customers ask. That's the first thing that we would like to change. Don't do it. Do the foil first. Then once you've got that higher aspect, smaller foil, you're getting your jives and you're turning and you're doing all that, then we can talk about the board choices from there.
Yep, absolutely. Then you're ready to step down to the next smaller board, or look at mid-length boards, look at downwind boards perhaps. If you're on an inland lake, there's a lot of people kind of jump into the downwind as their second board on inland lakes and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's second to the foil. You got to be...
Foil's number one.
Yes. Yeah.
Then the board. And then we'd be able to help you, as Ryan said too, with the board based on your conditions, your riding style, and you know where you're riding. That board is really going to dictate what style you should get.
Yes. Yeah. So the point of this video is not to go into too much details on specific board size, foil size, anything like that. Just more or less create a conversation of, as you're progressing, as you're downsizing gear, what you should be looking at for the next part to downsize in order to continue to have a fast progression and not slow yourself up too much as you're downsizing gear and progressing.
Perfect. We hope that helps. So those of you out there that got your beginner gear, keep working on it, keep riding, keep progressing. And when you think you're ready for a change, the foil. Give us a call here at Matt Kite. We'll be happy to help you out. Send us an email, chat, and we can kind of help you dial in your size for your next foil, take your ride to the next level. Enjoy the stoke.